Yeah. Because
And
I always pick up people on that. Well, I pick up the kids. I don't do it to people. I'd like to. I do it in my head. But I have that because obviously I'm a Monty for words. That language around you made me feel, that doesn't feel empowered.
I think when you're a child and you're on the receiving end of something like that,
Yeah.
there's prescribed set of words there that are designed
Yeah.
to get a prescribed outcome.
Yeah. So those
And
they elicit the desired response.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
And so what you're saying is it's almost capitalizing on a child's pure sense because we're so sophisticated, we understand how to hit those triggers.
Yes.
Is that
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm
accurate?
saying.
Yeah. So we do manipulate as adults to get our way.
We totally do.
Yeah. Hello, Quanta folks, and welcome to episode 4, possibly 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and the list could go on, of our beloved podcast.
Yeah. Faark the shoulds.
Faark the shoulds. I have to look to McGill for permission every time because it always feels really naughty. It's like, swearing in the first instance. And I don't know why it bothers me because our 7-year-old is a very accomplished swearer and I should take his lead, shouldn't I?
He is, and the rest of the kids in the family have picked up the word Faark.
I know.
Along the way.
I said something yesterday, it clearly had a should in there. I said something like, oh, we should do that. He goes, Mum, you know what we do? We Faark the shoulds. And I went, fair point. Touché, child. Anyway, welcome. We are here to chat about radical self-responsibility, which we touched on in our last episode 3. Makes us sound very young and keen and green. This is what we feel is like a really big topic, isn't it?
Well, it is. And when Jodi says it could be, 4, 5, 6, 7, it very well could be, because this is such a big topic and it's probably been one that's been bubbling away for us for quite some time.
Yeah. I feel like, look, there's a million ways we could launch into this, but everything comes through the prism of your current experience, and radical self-responsibility relates to, you can probably relate it to any point in your life, but never has there been a more obvious shared experience in the community than the last 3 years. And radical self-responsibility is something that just really comes up as something that it feels like that's the next collective consciousness that the community needs to move through as we start breaking down the old habits of, these roles of victims and perpetrators and just the drama cycle.
And that's exactly where I think we're headed. If you haven't been challenged in the last 3 years, well done. But I think so many of us have.
Where have you been if you haven't been challenged in the last 3 years? I mean,
yes, we're moving to where you are. Thank you.
Yeah.
But this is the thing, right? We've come from a point in time where it's been so challenging, and we have reverted in some instances to a victimhood statement, or it's not my fault, or it's not me, or why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
Sort of point of view. And other people around us, and we're still burgeoning on it and working into it,
We're not perfect. Is that what you're saying?
You are, darling, but I'm
thank
still
you.
working on it.
That was a trick question.
Have stepped up and taken responsibility for so many aspects of their life that they'd normally just let go.
Yeah.
That goes from behaviour, from interaction, all the way through to discipline around their words and their thoughts and their emotions and where they choose to invest their energy. And for so long, with the easy sort of lifestyle that was going on, we were pretty happy, all just cruising along, a lot of us in our lives, and all of a sudden we've had this major upheaval.
Yes.
And you've got to make that choice. And if you do know Jodi and I, which some of our wonderful listeners do, and if you're getting to know us through this, you've become undoubtedly aware that we are stepping right into that radical self-responsibility area.
Yeah, we really try to. I think it's something that requires a lot of practice. There's no doubt about it. There's a beautiful Linus blanket with playing the victim, even if that's kind of the heroine hero victim where, you know, you've tried valiantly and still haven't prevailed in whatever it might be. And it actually, all of these interrelate, don't they? They really tie beautifully into identity and how we shed identities, which again feels like another really rich topic that I think we'll want to dive into quite spectacularly at some point. But there's an opportunity to start breaking, I think, generational cycles. And I don't really buy into generational cycles because even within that, we exonerate ourselves of radical self-responsibility when we go, oh, well, it's in generations, you know, what can you do? And I'm like, yeah, that's true, except that when that light bulb moment happens, or you reach some clarity, or you have a moment of real heart-based experience and you actually look at your life, or you look at your actions, or you look at your part in whatever situation is sort of revealing itself, and you actually say, well, what's my role in here, and how could I actually show up in a more responsible way that has a positive impact not only on myself but also on the surrounding community and environment and so forth. And it becomes a very easy thing when you start moving into that radical self-responsibility, in the sense that it actually feels in real alignment, doesn't it?
Well,
alignment as in your heart.
Yeah, it's a truth to yourself.
Yeah, I think
and
so.
when you hit a truth to yourself, you know it. It's inside you. It resonates with your very being.
Yeah.
And if you choose to step away from that, good luck.
Yeah.
Because you know,
the universe will shunt you back in place.
Well, one of Jodi's great sayings is the universe will throw pebbles at you, and if you don't listen, it will throw a brick.
Yeah, not mine. I don't own it. I plagiarised that from somewhere else, but I just think it's an absolute perler.
Oh, it's a cracker.
Yeah.
But stepping back to that light bulb moment.
Yeah.
As you get better at understanding, or not so much understanding, but taking responsibility.
Yes.
You know, going, you know what? I'm not handing my power over to you to say, oh, poor me.
Yes.
Come and save me, or it's not my issue, nothing I can do about it. When you step in and take control of that and you say, you know what, this family lineage or this thing that suddenly popped up before me, that light bulb moment, you can make a choice.
Yeah.
And you're only limited by yourself there. And if you make that choice at that point in time to step up and go, I'm going to own this decision.
Yeah.
I'm going to take it and it's mine.
Yeah.
And it's on my terms, suddenly you almost flip that on its head.
Yeah.
You step right out of that mode where something could impact you in a rather negative way, and you take ownership of it.
Yeah.
You take responsibility for it and you make a change. And when you make that change, and this is where things come back into resonance. I
feel like you're about to sing You're the Voice. Are you?
No.
Trying to understand it?
Rather, I'm trying to myself, because I do have these moments when
Australian song, by the way, if they're overseas. So
when I do hit these chords that ring true back into myself, I go, right.
Yeah.
That's what I need to do.
There's something around being in that true alignment. And one of the things that I have, I think it's on the front page of the QuantiMama website, is that that you are the constant, and remember that you are powerful. And, you know, that could sound like a sort of wishy-washy, you know, faux inspirational term. It's not meant to be, though. It's actually meant to trigger in you this awareness that you are always at the center of every experience, and you are the constant that you can always count on. And within that, when you actually do operate in a radical self-responsibility role, or in that flow, you start realizing you are really powerful, and not powerful necessarily to change situations and have a big impact on the people around you, but powerful in the sense that you can perhaps guard yourself from making decisions that perhaps have a fleeting, big emotional impact on you. And that's not to say, I experience big emotions all the time, don't I? Like when I'm feeling crap, it's like a total storm out there, but they pass. And at some point the sun comes out and you feel lighter and you feel joyous and you feel warmer and everything seems possible. And, so in those moments of overwhelm, and I always think about parenting as being one of those classic examples where radical self-responsibility, and by all means, I have been very irresponsible in some of my parenting, like totally given in to the emotional roller coaster of parenting, where you really just are trying to decide the least damaging impact for your child that probably won't land you in prison. I mean, I'm being outrageous for a reason, but I always joked about the fact that parenting was one of those ones where it surprised you with how many homicidal thoughts you'll have. And there is something in that, the experience we have with raising children and how it can get under your skin. And in those moments, we have a choice about how we even respond, or even the choice just to walk away and change our environment as opposed to, expecting our child to change their environment. And so that's where the richness of radical self-responsibility can really come in, can't it?
It can, because suddenly, again, it's taking ownership. So if you are in that emotional position, or you're reacting from a point of emotional, I would say, of emotion, I should say, why? That's the question you need to ask yourself later on. But right now, in that moment, if you can go, you know what, I'm going to take responsibility for how I act here and how I interact, and I'm going to go forward this way. Almost finding that little bit of calm in the middle of the storm, to be able to take ownership of a decision, make a decision, or get through a challenging point. And don't, believe me, if you do get through them all, well done. But we still don't.
We won't be prescriptive about it.
No.
These amazing evolved people will likely do it better than us, darling.
Hopefully. Hopefully. And, the beautiful thing is you're always going to get another opportunity to have another go or to learn. Because our children here to teach us. Yes. And they're happy to hand out them. Yes, they're happy to hand out the lessons thick and fast.
There's some, just before you move on from that, because I can see your little thought bubble heading off, but there's something within that that I think when you can, so take the example of parenting where you've been able to jump yourself out of the beautiful, freeing emotional response where you just want to, unleash the fury. And it is probably not over something that's particularly massive. But say you've managed to hone in that responsibility and go, okay, I'm going to make a more constructive decision. When you create that spaciousness and you enter more of an observer role within that moment, even if you're there, you kind of become a little fly on the wall as well. And perhaps you can suddenly see, how big you are in comparison to your child. And even our 14-year-old, he's still a skinny version of us, even though he's taller. And so our bulk still, dwarfs him. Hang on, I can see you want to say something. My point I'm going to say is that when you enter that observer role, there are fleeting and increasing moments of empathy that enter that space. And that's so powerful, because when you start entering the empathetic space and you're in this sort of divisive exchange, say with parent and child, and you stand back and you go, oh shit, I can actually see what's unfolding, and I can see this kid is not being adversarial because they feel like just, annoying me and jamming another one in there, and they're just here to test me, and all those things that parents say to each other to console themselves over the difficulty of parenting. It's only as difficult as we make it. And when you stand back and perhaps you observe and perhaps you hit some empathy and you notice what it must be like for, say, that child in that given position, trying to make themselves heard, trying to have their opinion, because kids come in fully formed. They're not little sponges that absorb everything. They absorb all our bad habits, but they are their own being when they enter this world. There is no doubt about that. 4 children are a wonderful example of how different children are when they come into this world. And so when we hit that empathetic space and we afford that to ourselves, I tend to find it melts away all that, adversarial, sort of divisive feeling that happens in those exchanges. And I go, oh, yeah, I can see that would really suck for you. You're not being heard. You're not doing what I want. I still want you to do what I want you to do, but I can see that is then bringing up this, really argy-bargy, butt-heading kind of thing.
Old bull, young bull, all
it's
that.
A bit of that happens.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. I was going to say, when you say in relation, I guess you used our 14-year-old as an example because he is my height now. And he's quite proud of that he's got me covered.
Yeah.
But where we also have that major advantage is our advancement in the way that we can twist words and use language and twist emotion and use that sort of stuff back to our children. And it's funny because that's also a point in time when we start doing that. And there's been a few triggers I've had over the years where I've gone, oh my God, I sound like.
Yeah.
And I can pick out a point in time in my life where I've been told off or disciplined or spoken to by an authority figure, be it a mum, a dad, an aunt, an uncle, or grandma, and they've made me feel really disempowered.
Would you say they've made you feel something, or would you say that has been the net result of the experience?
That's probably been the net result of the experience.
Yeah. Because I always pick up people on that. Well, I pick up the kids. I don't do it to people. I'd like to. I do it in my head. But I have that because obviously I'm a Monty for words. That language around you made me feel, that doesn't feel empowered.
I think when you're a child and you're on the receiving end of something like that, there's prescribed set of words there that are designed to get a prescribed outcome. Yeah.
So those words, they elicit the desired response.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
And so what you're saying is it's almost capitalizing on a child's pure sense because we're so sophisticated, we understand how to hit those triggers.
Yes.
Is that
that's exactly what
accurate?
I'm saying.
Yeah. So we do manipulate as adults to get our way.
We totally do.
Yeah.
And this is part of, and Jodi touched on it, stepping into the observer role, where you're going to have, or we in partway through our conversation, and you can feel yourself getting worked up or drawn into it, or just feel a little bit of the edge coming in. When you get to that point where you can zoom out a little bit. So again, we're talking about that emotion that becomes involved.
Yeah.
I want you to do this. You've got your reasons why you want it done. It needs to be done. But at that point in time, your child doesn't really want to hear logic or anything like that. No. But it's when we start pushing in that point and start really trying to impose our will that we're going to start getting really good pushback. And if we can step back in that observer role and go, well, hang on a minute, if I was there, how's this going to work? And we start taking responsibility for those emotions that are building up, gives us another little level of control. And it might just mean that interaction can go from being that butting heads or that adversarial position to one where, yes, there's a bit of adversarial or pushback coming on that side, but it's not being met with the same amount of pushback or even more because we're in charge. We're the parents, apparently. And all of a sudden we take responsibility for that, for not only that emotion, but we take responsibility for that conversation. And then we take responsibility to work it towards an outcome that is far more beneficial to the people involved.
Yeah, which sounds like a lot of breakdown, but for something, I think as you become aware of these little points and you make a decision, essentially a framework decision, right? So you make a decision to be responsible. You make a decision to perhaps be conscious of your words. You make a decision to hit the observer space. And so that all of those, they knit together to then create quite different experiences where you can actually facilitate different outcomes. And I often think, what must it be like for parents who over and over will do this thing of, if you don't do this, then I'm going to, I don't know, take TV away for a week. And I always think, do you stick to that? Like, is your word your bond? And what's your child's experience of such a punitive measure? And my intention is not to judge, a little bit judgy, let's be honest, but my intention really actually to give that example, and I hear it all the time, is to think about what is the functional learning within that experience.
And not just that, what is the person on the other end of that experience?
That's what I mean.
Actually hearing.
Yeah.
What are they hearing when they say that? Are they just rolling their eyes and going, "Oh, it's Dad blowing his top again.
Yeah.
He'll calm down in 10 minutes and he'll forget about that." And we all move on. So let's push him a little bit harder and then we'll leave him alone.
Yeah.
You know, but you touched on it then again. So the reason why we titled this one Radical Self-Responsibility, and we're coming at it from the point of view of the point of view interactions with our children and changes within ourselves.
Well, I think there's lots of things we could draw on, darling.
And we're going to. Because this is one of those subjects that balloons out. Exactly as you said, it's about how you interact with people around you. It's about how you choose to perceive what is happening in the world around you.
Yeah.
And by doing that, you are taking back your power. You're taking back control of the things you can control, which is your life.
Yeah.
Your influence in this world on yourself and those people that are the nearest and dearest to you.
But not even control your perspective of your life if it's unfolding.
Yes.
Because to control is so restraining, and actually it's a misnomer, isn't it?
Well, it is actually a word that can trigger a lot of people.
Yeah.
So if it triggers
like
you,
me.
Why?
Yeah.
So why does it trigger you?
Because I don't want to be controlled. I want my own radical self-responsibility.
So to have your radical self-responsibility, what does that give you in your day-to-day life? When you hit that, when you see that coming, you hit the observer space and you go, I'm going to take responsibility in this interaction.
Yes.
What do you do?
Well, I'm not going to say the word because it's becoming a trigger word, but SOVREIGN. I feel that. Can you spell that okay?
Yeah.
Did I spell it right?
I think so.
So anyway, I won't be getting any gigs on spelling bees. There's something around that. What I want to feel is limitless. I was going to say unlimited, but no uns. I want to feel limitless. I almost did it again. And that's not to say I wish to experience everything, because I actually don't. I actually am interested in experiencing life in its richness and its fullness with discernment in a heart-based way that's full of community, that's of great service to the community, that's full of love and laughs and just joy. That's what I want. But part of that is that I'm really worried I'm going to spell it wrong. I've got performance anxiety. That SOVRER, thank you, EIGNTY.
That was way off.
Oh my God. All right. Anyway, work it out. That S word, I'm really interested in that. And the reason why is that in those moments, I feel I have the opportunity to make decisions that are responsive to the way what I will describe as the universe nudging me. Because I'm not up for pebbles, and I'm definitely not up for stones, and I'm definitely not up for universal bricks being thrown at me. So there's something around feeling that the true sense of sovereignty, you know, where you are that individual within a community, you are the cell within the organism.
So it'd be easier to say that when you are in that situation and you move yourself into that observer role, that you feel yourself more in alignment with your true self when you are experiencing either the discussion or the conflict. So you're feeling more in aligned with being a better version of yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to describe it. Yeah, because I've definitely, when I'm succumbing to the emotions, and trust me, it happens way more frequently than I would like to admit publicly. But when I feel out of control and I feel like I'm allowing for just stuff to happen that's just ugly and doesn't feel like it's of use to anybody. And the reason why I think it's important to keep noticing those, and I don't want to get too, middle class introspective on this matter, but it's part of the responsibility of being a good community member. I think modelling good behaviour, and our kids are here to actually have, the positive things reaffirmed You know, as I said, they come in fully formed. We actually don't need to shape them too much. We just need to facilitate guidance, don't we?
Yeah, and present opportunity.
Yeah.
An opportunity for them to take a level of responsibility for themselves as well.
Yeah.
This is the thing. Sometimes we are so, I think was the term, helicopter parenting.
Oh, yeah.
We're in there because we don't want our child to fall over. We don't want this to happen. We don't want that to happen. Whereas Jodi has a slightly different view when the child hurts themselves and we can hear them screaming from from outside, and she goes, "Well, they're breathing."
Yeah, well, it's true.
And that's the starting point of where you come in. Good set of lungs. Yep, they can breathe. Yeah. Now let's see what we need to do.
Well, I just wonder, how do you ever become adults thinking that you could do anything, which is the catch cry of most well-intentioned households, when the child's childhood is marked with all these things of be careful and don't do that, and don't go too high or don't go too far, and all these limiting things. And I realize it's for the best interest, and I realize some kids bump hard and those parents go through a lot of heartache while that child heals. I understand that. I understand accidents happened. Well acquainted with accidents after 18 years in ambulance, so I'm aware that that happens. However, if we apply that rule of thumb to every child everywhere, we get an entire generation who spend their probably 40s remembering and listening to the voice within that says, have a go. What's the worst that's going to happen? You might fall on your face and you get back up. But if we, with our children, give them that message through childhood, and they're very sponge-like. I mean, they're sponge-like in the sense that they've come in fully formed, but they are looking for guidance all around them. And their first pair of guidance comes from the immediate family. And so when that immediate family says to this child, watch out, don't fall over, all those things that, again, language has a very big part of it, it must chip away at the child in terms of how they have a go at things. And I guess, well, it's a popular word now, but that resilience that comes through. I mean, I think kids are naturally resilient. When you get out of their way, they're resilient.
They are. They want to interact and be involved and have a go. And it's quite often the limitations are being put on them by us. So this might be a really good time to have a pause on this one.
Yeah. We're going to keep talking.
We are going to keep talking, but we're going to have
got some more to say.
We're going to have some water. Yeah. And a quick little break.
Yeah.
And so this is going to be, I guess, the end of part one.
Yeah.
I'm
ready
see you
for
soon. Self-responsibility. Bye.
Ciao.